Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed my nice angry rants and whatnot. And now, the person who had to sit through all that without saying a word, the wonderful, the magnanimous, the somewhat symposious Susanne Posel. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I was thinking that would be a great marketing gimmick, don't you think? You know, if you hold symposiums, you know, Posel symposiums. I suppose it'd be a good idea, you know.
I suppose it would be.
And you could approach someone, make a proposal, you know, and convince them that you're a professional.
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Okay.
So she's from the USindependent.com, the most credible independent alternative news jacket in the country. Which means it's obviously not the number one, because, let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, lies are a hell of a lot more attractive than the truth. But it doesn't mean that there isn't a large section of society out there who are actually prefer truth over lies, and have realised over time to have the discernment to know the difference. And this is why I like Susanne Posel.
Thank you. I hope so. I keep trying.
Yeah. Well, someone with the discernment to know the difference often does.
It's out there for you to read. That's all I can do.
Allegedly, unless it's blocked.
Unless it's blocked, which so far, so good. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
All right. Thank you, Department of Defense personnel, whoever you are, that has overlooked this grievous error.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, we can appreciate the incompetence of the military and the police state apparatus once in a while, you know, that once time they get something to slip through, it's nice.
Right. Yeah, they're drinking fluoride and eating fast food. So.
You can't expect them to be up with the play, so to speak.
No, they're...
I mean, I just censor the stuff. I don't read it.
Right, like supermods on YouTube.
Supermods?
You've never heard of supermods?
Well, I've heard of super, I've heard of mods, I've heard of Superman, and in Jamaica they call them Supermon, but I've never heard of a supermod.
Super moderators on YouTube. And these are people who go around and check for copywritten content, inappropriate content. They can shut down your YouTube channel. They can shut down an individual video. It's kind of nice.
They're like the sheriff of YouTube.
Yes, they are. They're moseying around on their horse, looking around for trouble, and whatever they decide. I don't know what it takes, like what qualifications there are to be a supermod. I haven't looked into it. What is interesting is...
I'd love to be a supermod. There'd be plenty of channels of terrible scum that I'd block and destroy.
Well, you know, there's at least one member of alternative media that is a supermod. I won't name any names.
Oh, come on. You can't give us a lead like that and not name a name. Who in the alternative media is a supermod?
It was interesting. Somebody sent me a video from Alex Jones, and I normally just don't watch it, but I did. It was during when Mark Dice had his YouTube channel taken down. And then he put up another YouTube channel, and that one was also suspended within the same day. And so this was a Sunday night edition of Alex Jones, and he was talking about how he is a supermod and how he spoke to some of his other supermods in the supermod sphere and got Mark Dice's second YouTube channel reinstated. So that's when I shook my head and I had like a Lewis Black moment. I was like, oh, what? I have to go see what this is. What? Huh? So.
Okay. Well, you know, every time you get to envelop the picture just a little bit further, and you get to understand that the people who say all the time, I'm here to wake you up, actually aren't really there to wake you up. You might wake up of your own accord, look at other sources and things of that nature. But they're not actually there to wake you up. They're there to keep you tuned in.
Well, I just wrote another article on the CNP. It's about the militias. I think I talked about it a little bit when we talked about the Council for National Policy. But I was looking at some articles in the mainstream, just looking for stuff to write about. And I noticed that Bobby Jindal, who is the Louisiana governor, was speaking at a conference. And he was talking about how there was going to be a rebellion, that there was a silent war stirring, and that this rebellion was going to come where the people were going to take over our capital. And this sounded a lot like some of the plot lines from Operation American Spring and what Truckers to Shut Down America, which got renamed the Ride for Constitution, and then they had this whole big side
and then
plot.
that got renamed Guerrilla Media Network. Let's not forget the 200,000 likes on the Facebook page that got renamed.
That's true. I don't like to mention names because when I do, all of a sudden my website gets hacked. So my website hasn't been hacked in a while, so I'm trying to keep it that way. So I won't mention any names. You can if you want.
Yeah. I think we can just move on from that. And
Okay.
Just go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Mr. News Guerrilla Media, or just search Finney Eastwood on YouTube. Go to my channel, and if you just run a search for Santilli, that's all you need to do. It'll tell you everything you need to know, and more. And you probably wish you didn't know it, but we thank God that you did anyway. Now we can move on.
So Bobby Jindal was at the Faith and Freedom Coalition, and he said, quote, "I can sense right now a rebellion brewing amongst these United States, where people are ready for a hostile takeover of Washington, D.C. to preserve the American dream for our children and our grandchildren." Now that reminded me of when I was talking with you about the CNP, the Council for National Policy. And by the way, a lot of people have been passing that interview around. I've seen it all over Facebook. So thank you guys very much. Please keep sharing that. That is one of the most important interviews that I've ever done in my entire life. And people need to listen to that and really let that sink in, because that is the base. That is the foundation of where all of the information that you're getting is coming from. So I was looking at militias, and I briefly talked about them when we were talking about the CNP, but I went into more detail to get out the information of where did they come from. Now, in the United States, every state has the right to form their own militia, independent of the federal government's army. Because originally, under a constitutional republic, every state was meant to be like a little country with its own government. And then those little mini countries came together as the United States under America. So they all agreed that they were going to work together under America, the United States of America, but they were themselves sovereign individual countries, basically. This formulation of the new idea of militia is not that I was just talking about. This idea of a force that Bobby Jindal was talking about is the brainchild of CNP member, former Major General John K. Singlab. Ever heard of him?
No, it sounds more malicious than militia.
This goes back to Reagan era, of course, because CNP was created during the Reagan administration. So Singlab assisted in supplying the Contras, this goes back to the Iran-Contra scandal, with armory and militia training during the Reagan administration with the help of White House liaison Oliver North, fellow CNP member, to create a, quote, non-insurgency counterwave strike with funding from millionaires, who includes H.L. Hunt, who helped create the CNP. He helped put up the money to create the organization, as well as Joseph Coors. If you
So it's
drink
kind of
Coors
like
beer.
the David Rockefeller of the CNP kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah, he's one of them. And H. Ross Perot, who ran for president many, many years back. So with the CNP funding, or CNP members funding the Contras, as a side note, I added in my article that their contributions to the Contras was actually a tax deduction. Isn't that interesting? You
Well,
can fund like the Free Syrian Army, I guess, and you could fund like the opposition in the
well,
Ukraine.
that's why
And
they call it the Free Syrian Army, isn't it? It's tax free.
it's tax free.
You know,
Now,
we can drop chemical weapons on people, and we don't have to pay tax on it. You know, the American
it's
dream.
like an incentive.
It's the American dream. You know, go into other countries, poison the living Shiite Muslim out of them, and depose their democratically elected leaders, and destroy their life and style, and whole communities and cities burned to the ground, and you actually get money from it. I can't even imagine how that could even happen.
It's sick. I mean, first of all, we shouldn't be paying taxes. It's a collection agency of a private organization. So I don't get it. But anyway, they get to write this off for taxes, for tax deductions. And at the time, in the 1980s, they raised $60 million for weapons, militia training, fatigue uniforms, and, quote, other necessities. And $60 million in the 1980s was a lot of money. Now it's like nothing. So years later, promoting the militia blueprint visualized by SingLab was Larry Pratt, which is the gentleman that I mentioned. He's the head of the Gun Owners for America, which is huge in alternative circles, like Wayne LaPierre and Larry Clayman of Judicial Watch. Wayne LaPierre, head CEO and spokesperson for the NRA. So in Larry Pratt's book, published in 1990 rather, called Armed People Victorious, he talked about his expertise in, quote, citizen defense patrols, which were used in Guatemala and the Philippines, and that there should be a militia movement like those citizen defense patrols fostered in the United States to combat communism. Now, those citizen defense patrols in Guatemala and the Philippines, they were known as death squads because they were these conservative patriot militias, quote unquote, that walked around South America and just killed people, you know, at whim.
Don't you love marketing? You know, you can just name something completely different and people will go, man, that's really great. Should I investigate into whatever that? Nah, let's just vote for it.
You know, I saw, you know, in my newsfeed on Facebook, I'll go through and look and see what everybody's talking about. And I saw some website, it was called American Freedom Fighters. And I thought, well, isn't that strange? Because the Contras were called Freedom Fighters. And those guys were created and funded by the CNP. And they were these death squads. So why would you want to call yourself the American Death Squads?
Well, obviously they wanted to be kind of like the Contras, but more American. They wanted to be contradictory. I mean, what can I say?
So Larry Pratt was involved in the publication of a guidebook that is used for U.S. militias known as the Field Manual for the Free Militia, which details how to prepare new recruits for the, quote, underground war. Now, here's where it gets a little gummy, a little sticky. Oath Keepers. Oath Keepers and Gun Owners for America and Larry Pratt are kind of like, you know, two peas in a pod. They're really close. Oath Keepers looks a lot like what SingLab and even Larry Pratt were talking about with creating these death squads, or if you rather citizen defense patrols, where they Oath Keepers and Gun Owners of America working together to promote militia membership and to foster this formidable force that would be necessary to foster a patriot rebellion, similar to what Jindal was speaking about when he spoke at the Faith and Freedom Coalition. Which, by the way, the Faith and Freedom Coalition, when I went and looked at like who they are and who their members are, it was like a who's who of CNP. Incredible. And of course, Bobby Jindal is a member of the CNP as well. So they're just talking to each other about what they're going to do. I mean, the head of it is Ralph Reed, who's a former head of the Christian Coalition and longstanding member of the CNP, as well as members of the Faith and Freedom Coalition are also members of the Conservative Action Project, which again is just saturated in the Council for National Policy. So these guys they run close together. You just have to look at and see who's hanging out with who, but they're not shy about it. You just have to look at the About Us section of these organizations, or go to the board of directors or the board of trustees, or get into who's actually making decisions for this nonprofit corporation, and you'll see who they're connected to. And with these groups, it's either a direct connection, they are CNP members, or they're connected to a CNP member, which is 1 degree of separation.
That's about right. That's how you control things. We have a similar organisation in New Zealand called, what used to be called the Business Roundtable Group. And then it renamed itself as the Committee for Auckland. And you have to pay $10,000 a year to be a member of this club. And you get almost unfettered access to public officials, media people, etc. Who can pay that much to garner that kind of influence?
I can't.
Only mega corporation scumbaggery. That's who.
You know, it's insane what a sizable amount of money can get you.
It can get you pretty much anything you want.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Oath Keepers is important because, folks, they were there in Nevada at the Bundy Ranch and fighting against the BLM. And this is who is going to fight that fight that we were talking about before when we were in the last interview about the CNP. This is the other side of the police state. You know, the blue team has all of the armory and all of the weapons and the LRADs and the scary suits and all of that, and the CNP have their militias. And there's a lot of different militia groups, but Oath Keepers is the biggest. And so even though I knew that I was going to find a direct connection between Oath Keepers and the CNP, I was kind of hoping that I wasn't. Because sometimes when I look into this stuff, I really hope that I'm wrong. I hope that my instincts are incorrect. Because the ramifications of this means that really good people, wonderful, incredibly patriotic veterans and people who haven't served, who are just really want to go back to a life that they remember for their children and their grandchildren, are being sucked into this fight for their cause, not ours, for their version of the future of our country, not ours.
And just remember, a traitor will sound exactly like your new leader that you love and want to support and want to lay down your life for. The traitor will appear like one of you. The traitor will be above suspicion. So all these people that you place your faith and your hope in and all of these kind of things, you actually really look into them. And you find out that behind the scenes are the exact opposite of what they would show everybody that they really are. That's the traitors among us. That's why these kind of broadcasts are so danged important, to ensure that you don't get led astray by these wolves in sheep's clothing.
It is extremely important that when I look at information, now that I'm starting to really understand the CNP, and it's been about a month and a half that I've been looking into this, and I'm still digging into it. And there's more articles to come, folks, because I can't shut up about this. I have to talk about it because very few people have, and it's extremely important. And if they get what they want, we're going to destroy this country for them. I don't want that to happen. Regardless of what happens, I don't want to at least lose the little bit that we have left. I just don't. I don't want my children to live in their world. And since they are taking over every country...
Don't worry, Suzanne. They won't. They'll just get exterminated.
Oh, that's even worse.
So you can now rest at ease. Your children will not live in their world, you know? Isn't the bright side of things so comforting? You know? Is that what people are sitting around doing, Suzanne? They're thinking that, like, they could just sit this one out?
Pretty much.
Are you freaking crazy? I mean, my goodness. You have any idea who these people are? This is the kind of people who have fomented frickin' every revolution you've ever frickin' heard of. They've murdered more people than frickin' cancer. And in fact, they cause a hell of a lot of the cancer. These are people who implant viruses in people's bodies and tell them that it's good for them and then study the results. These are people who dope up politicians with acid and give and stick them in a room with a Playboy model and a two-way mirror so they can film them and blackmail them. These are people who can kill you and have all the police hold off on coming into the scene for about 10 to 15 minutes to ensure the team that they've gotten to kill you gets away, and then pay off all the media to spin it out like it's just some random shooting and pin it on a patsy in broad daylight, despite thousands of contradictory evidence, testimonials, and then maybe kill 100 witnesses after the fact as well to prevent them from testifying otherwise. These are some bad freaking people. And just because they're freaking evil doesn't mean they aren't brilliant. How do you think they've gotten away with it for this long? It's because every time somebody rises up to challenge them, it turns out they're behind it. The best way to prevent a revolution from happening is to control the revolutions and make them happen yourself. They give money to these groups, they influence their policies, and all the good-meaning people who don't do an ounce of investigation into these organisations which they are devoting their life's work and their reputations, going on lists and things of that nature, donating money, unbeknownst to you, right at the very top levels, it was planned all along to rob you of your ability to fight against these scum by yourself without needing a group to represent you. That's how brilliant these people are. And now that you know the game, isn't it obvious what you should do? Cease supporting them. Immediately. Of course, do some investigation first to confirm that what we're telling you is the truth. But by all means, don't play into the Armageddon of your country by giving your heart, your soul, and your wallet to the scumbaggery filth that will kill you and everybody you love, and destroy everything that your ancestors have fought for. It'll all be dust and ashes blown in the wind. I don't think it's a good idea, personally. You're listening to the Vinnie Eastwood Show. My very special guest is Susanne Posel. This is a listener-supported broadcast, by the way, so please go to the VinnieEastwoodShow.com and subscribe today. Donate, give us a gift of $5 a month. It's very, very nice. It helps to pay all the bills and keep the lights on and the heat burning. And also check out our wonderful sponsors. There's a number of books and Blue Shield and the High Tea Cafe and the most amazing soap in the world from the Gourmet Soap Kitchen and Wagga Wagga as well. They're all on the homepage there. If you want to support the show, support our sponsors as well. I don't really get paid for any of the sales that I get passed on, apart from maybe the Blue Shield, because these people are just really good people, more or less, and they just want to support the show. And I hope that some of you want to support them for doing likewise, you know what I'm saying? We'll be right back. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's the final segment for today. My very special guest is the magnanimous Susanne Posel from the USindependent.com. Yeah, it would be nice if everything was independent and not just the US, you know. I'd like to be independent too, but unfortunately I'm completely dependent on you, the listeners. So please go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and subscribe for $5 a day today. I'm always going out there to protest and filming public meetings and what have you, and making sure that people who ordinarily don't have that kind of expertise at hand, and if it was, they couldn't pay for it if they dreamed of it. I do it for them for free because they need it, basically, and nobody else will do it. So the obligation falls to me because I'm the one with the power to change the situation for them. So go to thevinnieeastwoodshow.com and subscribe to give a $5 gift per month today, just to cover all the costs and make sure that I can keep helping people. My very special guest, as I said before, is Susanne Posel. Welcome back.
Thank you. I have another article that kind of shocked me. You know about BPA, bisphenol A, and we have a lot of products now that are BPA free because BPA causes, I don't know, migraines, vaginal bleeding, development of breast tissue tumors, blood clots in the legs and lungs, aggravates diabetic conditions, causes kidney or liver failure, chest pain simulating a heart attack, exacerbates allergic reactions, just to name a few.
Sounds like a charmer.
It sounds great, doesn't it? So they...
it's like the Norman Bates of plastic additives.
Right, exactly. So, we've got this BPA-free stuff, and it's actually bisphenol 5, which is called BPS instead of BPA. And this chemical was put in to replace BPA, which would make it BPA-free. However, BPS alters brain development and causes, amongst other things, what we've classified as hyperactivity behavior disorders, like what we call ADHD.
Well, I think there's a lot of elements to that. Basically, what's ADD again? Not being able to concentrate, just in general to a little bit. Well, did it ever occur to anybody that a lot of the things that we get kids to do is actually pretty boring for them because they're kids and they want to play around with stuff? Mm-hmm.
That's true. That really is true.
It's a really good solution to that. Your kids wanting to play around with stuff and you want them to do something else. Give them frickin' cocaine. That's right. That's pretty much speed, crack, whatever you want. Just go to your doctor. They'll prescribe you some medication which does virtually the same thing as those substances. And you give it to your child while their brain's not even fully developed, when their frontal lobe isn't even fully developed. Yeah, that's a good idea, isn't it? And that'll keep them out of trouble.
Sure, because everybody on cocaine and heroin and speed are upstanding citizens and they never get in trouble.
Well, actually there's an element of truth to that. Apparently the elite are really into their heroin and their cocaine and whatnot. And they control all the judges and the justice system, so technically, yeah, they never get in trouble for it.
Okay, so BPS has been termed safe as an alternative to BPA. But according to Deborah Kursich, who is a professor at the University of Calgary in Canada and led the study that I'm quoting from, she said, BPS may be equally as harmful to developing brains as BPA. Society must place increased pressure on decision makers to remove all bisphenol compounds from manufacturing processes. She points out that BPA-free does not mean bisphenol A-free or bisphenol-free. And she points out that this is not understood in society. When we see the marketing, it's BPA-free. Okay, but bisphenol is the problem, and all of its variations on the scale. It's just like with parabens. Ever heard of those?
Well,
probably not.
When I put out my garbage, we do have a parabens, but...
These are the kind of things that if you have like facial cleansers or body wash that has those little scrubbing beads in them, you'll also find it in shampoo and conditioner. It's in the Desitin baby cream. Please don't use that when you guys have children. It is in the Johnson & Johnson baby wash and shampoo. It's even in silver nitrate, which many years ago my son was prescribed this by his pediatrician when I was still taking him to the medical pediatrician. We take him to a holistic pediatrician now. But this, when they do biopsies of breast tumors, and by the way, breast tumors and breast cancer is on the rise for men, so don't tune out, guys, just because I'm talking about breast tumors. They find that these tumors...
Suzanne, you'll find that whenever you mention breasts, more men tune in, so you're covered.
Okay, guys, let's talk about the breasts. The breasts now. Okay, we love the breasts,
right? Just saw a spike
right?
in the numbers there, like a big spike too.
Yes, we like the big breasts. Okay, we love them, and we want to keep them healthy, right? Because we want to keep looking at them. We don't want them to go away, like Angelina Jolie allegedly had a double vasectomy. I don't know, I wasn't there, but she looks really good for someone who, and you can't really tell any, scars or whatever anyway, so.
Well, that's probably because she doesn't go topless.
Probably.
Obviously, they do the incisions on implants. They go underneath the breast. That's where they put in the sacks of silicone and whatnot. I think they use a different compound now.
Saline.
Yeah. And also there's a great difficulty with the nipples. Sometimes they cut around that and try to sew it back up along the same line as the areola. You see, I know a lot about breast augmentation, as many men do.
Oh, geez. Wait a minute. Have you been... I don't even want to go into that. That's personal. Anyway.
And moving right along.
So let's get back to the parabens and the breasts. So when they do the biopsies of breast tumors, what they find is they are 99% paraben. Ooh, very scary, because parabens are in most of your toiletries. And it's just like with the bisphenol A, bisphenol S. It is the paraben and all of its different variations that is the problem. This is causing breast cancer. It's not the BRCA1 or the BRCA2 gene. If it were, then places like the National Cancer Institute would not have on their website stating that even if you have this variant or this mutation in your body does not mean that you're going to come down with breast cancer, nor does it mean if anyone in your family has a BRCA1 or BRCA2 gene variation or mutation that you will become subject to it. And here is something incredible. We were watching a movie the other day. It was, it just came out. It's like, Hollywood movie. And they were talking about mastectomy. And this woman just says, well, I just had a double mastectomy just in case because, you never know. So if I get rid of both of them, I don't have to worry about breast cancer. And I did one of those palm slap to the forehead. Like, oh, it's in the movies too. They're conditioning everyone. So there was a study that was done in New York State by the Department of Health, and this was last year, and it was also in conjunction with the Department of the Environmental Health Services and the University of New York in Albany. And they found an alarmingly high amount of parabens in the food that they studied. Now, they randomly went to grocery stores and just started picking food off the shelves, produce, fruits and vegetables, processed foods, meats and cheeses. They just randomly picked out stuff, including juices, soft drinks, seafood, chicken, vegetables, fruits, breads, baked goods, anything. And they discovered that there were deadly high levels of paraben in everything that they looked at. And what shocked them was the fruits and the vegetables. I don't know, and they didn't know in the study. They suggested there needs to be further research into why parabens are showing up on our produce, on fruits and vegetables. What is it that they're spraying or that they're dosing these fruits and vegetables in that is putting the parabens in them? So you're eating this and ingesting it into your body. And then, or you're washing it into your daughter's hair. And then when she comes to you at 42 and says, Mom, I have breast cancer, you don't think back to the apple that you gave her from the grocery store or the Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo that you scrubbed into her hair. Just doesn't click and register. But it's these parabens over time, which is cumulative, they register and clump together and create breast cancer. And so it's not the reason, it's the that we're being told. It's not medical, it's not genetic, it's the food, it's the products that were being sold that have these chemicals in it. And I know that we hear about that all the time. We hear about it in infinitum. So we become immune to it or numb to it. Oh, yeah, I know they're spiking the food and the drink. Yeah, it's terrible. No, really. There is and I hate to use the word epidemic because it sounds like an alarmist, but there's a rising amount of people coming down with breast cancer, men and women. And what are we doing that's so different than the generation before us and so much more different, like between night and day difference between two generations? What's so different that I'm doing that my grandmother did? It's because I am eating and drinking and bathing and using chemicals constantly. And so after an amount of time, it accumulates in my body and causes disease.
It's like a silent killer. Like, you wouldn't even see it coming. You wouldn't see anybody having any kind of symptoms or anything that you didn't think were out of the ordinary. Oh, I'm just feeling a bit sick today or something like that, you know. Or and most people even don't tell other people about, you know, like when they're feeling sick about something. Like, I don't know, if you've discovered you've got a bum tooth, you know, and it's like rotting in the back of your head, do you go around and tell everybody about it? Hey, I'm Vinny, I've got a bum tooth and it reeks. No. You don't, do you? You suffer in silence. And one day it gets infected and you die from it. That's the kind of thing we're talking about here, isn't it? But except it's not just, you know, a bum tooth that might kill you. It's like flooding the market with as many toxins, chemicals, pathogens, etc. as possible, so that everybody will die of something. But everybody will think it's completely unrelated.
Absolutely, that's what it is. Because they want you to keep buying the products. Because if you buy the products, then you need medical care or medical management. And this starts this whole ball rolling where they squeeze as much money as they can before you die. And then, you know, God forbid, if you don't have a will, then your estate gets sucked up by the state government. Or if you do, then everybody has to fight over everything and pay off your bills that you died without paying. This is a very, very sick, twisted game that they have us living under for an entire existence, you know. And I was talking with my brother earlier, and he's like, "Oh, well, you know, that's just how life is." No, that's how life has been manufactured. Life used to be, you know, before the 1940s, there were no grocery stores in the United States. Not super grocery stores. There was like the general store. What did people do for food? They grew food in their backyard. They lived near a farm and they bartered and traded, or they worked on the farm and got food. They turned their front lawns into, they had animals on their property. Then all of a sudden, we needed milk delivered to our house, or we needed to travel to go to a superstore and buy already produced products because we didn't want to produce them anymore at our house. And it was just so much more convenient. And we had so much more time, like all the housewives in the 1950s when they had all the new gadgets coming out and you didn't have to wash your clothes with the washboard and hang them up on the line. You could use this newfangled washer and it will do it you know, and then you could maybe just hang it on the line, or you could get one of these newfangled dryers.
People had no idea about that stuff. Like my uncle told me that his mother, when they first got a refrigerator, she was like afraid of it, and she like put some potatoes on a roasting dish and then put it inside it just to see what it would do, like to see if it might cook her potatoes or something. Because you're so used to, like, the only thing that you open and put something in that involves food is an oven.
People don't understand that with all of that time came Valium, because housewives had so much time on their hands that they needed something to do and they got depressed. Because part of being a nurturer, and I might get some flack for this, but you know what? I'm a housewife. And you know what? I was raised by a feminist. So here I am, coming from a feminist background, being raised by a woman who burned her bras in the 60s. And here I am telling you that there's merit in nurturing and taking care of your home and your family. And if you don't give yourself that purpose, idle hands are the devil's plaything. So here come pharmaceuticals to make you feel good about the fact that you're not fulfilling what you naturally want to do, which is to nurture and take care of your family. It's kind of sick when you think about how everything kind of just falls into place. And then, we have to go to what I noticed recently was lettuce used to be lettuce. Now, in order for lettuce to be lettuce, it has to be organic lettuce. Because if it's not organic, then it's just lettuce, and lettuce is manufactured. It comes out of a laboratory. That's where the seeds come from. So we have to actually label food as it naturally should be in order to identify it as its natural state, because we're so used to unnatural food.
Yeah. Well, I think we're so used to unnatural everything, even unnatural social interaction. How many people have actually, talked in the last week in person to somebody that you've talked to on Facebook? Interesting.
Yeah. I just spoke with my brother on Skype, and I have not seen his face. We video chatted. I have not seen his face in more than 2 years. And I was just enthralled just to see him, because I haven't seen him, and he had a beard, and I haven't seen him in a long time. And I was like, oh, look at you, and look at all this. Look at how much older you. He's 34, so I'm like, look at how much older you are. And I realized while we were talking how 3,000 miles away from my family does a huge number. I'm busy with my life here and my husband and my kids and everything else that I do, and I love what I do. But for 28 years of my life, my whole life was 3,000 miles away. And I haven't been back there in 6 or 7 years, and I haven't seen my brother in close to like 2.5 or 3 years. That's a really long time to be away from the people that you grew up with and you were raised with and who love you and know you better than you know yourself. And I think it does a number on people that we don't live close to our families anymore, that we are separated, and we don't think anything of it, but we're sad and depressed and we feel disconnected. And then we have these relationships online that are disconnected because we're not physically with each other. We forget that 90% of our communication is nonverbal. So if I can't see you, I can't see your facial expressions or your body language. I have to go by tone. And most people misunderstand each other, especially in chat. You can completely misunderstand when someone is trying to be funny and they're coming off the wrong way and you're taking them seriously. That misunderstanding would never happen if you were face to face. But we continue to push this.
Unless they're like a hardcore socialist kind of. Those people got no sense of humor.
No, there are really trolls that are just really out there to just like make your day really suck. But most of the time, people are just trying to make comments and trying to be fun and trying to be part of the conversation. And they're misinterpreted and misunderstood because we're not physically with each other. And a lot of problems stem from the fact that we're pushing more and more of social media, that we don't have to be around each other to be around each other. Yes, we do. We're social creatures. We need to see each other and be around each other. Did you know that cuddling releases such a high level of dopamine that it will literally instantly get rid of depression, feelings of anxiety, feelings of fear, just cuddling. So think about that.
I am like the chief cuddle master. I'm 6'4", so if you're like hugging me in public or kind of thing, you got to put your arms around my waist because you can't even reach my shoulders. And then you come in, and I'm big and soft and squishy, and then I put my big arms around you, and then I can put my chin and rest it on your head, so you're like completely encapsulated in a big warm squishy hug. It's very, very nice, I'm told.
I'm 5'1". My husband is 6'2".
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. And
another thing about being tall is I've never actually seen myself in my bathroom mirror before. Never seen my face anyway.
Oh, do you have to like bend down to get under the shower head?
Yeah.
My husband complains about that all the time.
Oh yeah. There's a whole bunch of memes about things that happen to tall people. It's Basically, the world was not built for our kind.
And cars. My husband gets upset when he gets in the car after I've been driving because I have to pull the seat all the way forward. Otherwise, I can't reach the pedals. I'm like a little kid.
Yeah.
And he has to push it all the way back.
See, here's the thing, all right? Fellas, you do need to leave the toilet seat down. Women, you do need to put the frickin' car seat back.
And please, okay, toilet paper goes over, not under. Okay, so when you put the roll in, the paper comes out over, not under.
Really?
Yes, it does. I'm sorry. Toilet seat down, toilet paper over.
See, I'm more about the toilet paper's functionality. I figure like whichever way it comes, front or back or whatever, as long as it gets the business done.
That's true.
I
Please.
mean, let's not get pedantic about it.
No, but yes, yeah. Oh, okay. I'm just thinking about my son. It was a lot of years that he did not use toilet paper, and I'm sure that it's normal for little boys.
Yeah. Nah. Parenting is a messy business.
It really is, folks.
I've seen that there's all these bad sides and everything to that, but at the end of the day, it's kind of what you're here to do. Like, for example, me being a radio show host and all of this kind of stuff, I don't have to do this. I just do it because I'm obligated to. And I think that's what truth is and having children is about as well. You don't really have to have children, but for frack's sake, just have them anyway, bro. Sweet mercy. You have any idea how many idiots there are out there breeding like crazy? Outnumbering us, it'll be idiocracy times 1,000.
That's very true. And really, take some time to take care of your children. Not just, their basic needs, like making sure they eat and they get to bed on time. But nurture their minds and their souls and talk to them. They really do have thoughts and feelings. Now that my 3-year-old is basically speaking, she's very articulate and she's starting to express her feelings, and her sentence structure it's so adorable when she asserts herself because she's 3. But I'm starting to realize that when she was an infant, and same thing with my son, they don't talk and they don't really verbalize what they want or what they need. They kind of cry and point at things, and you sometimes may forget that they're human. They have thoughts and feelings. They like things. They don't like things. So really get to know this person, because you're not dealing with a blank slate. When they come here, they have a fully formed personality. It's your job to get to know them and help them be the best version of themselves that they can possibly be. But you can't do that if you don't engage conversation and talk to them and find out how they feel and what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing and what they think and what they're interested in and why they're interested in it. The same thing you would do if you were trying to get to know someone to become a friend or get into a relationship. You want to get to know this person. You don't want to just look and say, oh, wow, I like the package. I have an idea of what they might be. Did you see these pictures on the internet of this guy who is involved in sex trafficking and rape?
And all the women love him?
Oh, my God.
It's funny because I unfortunately, we've come to the end of the segment, but it's funny you should mention that, because Sarah was talking about that, my wife, and I said to her, hey, that reminds me of a Bill Hicks sketch that he did about Ted Bundy. He killed like 24 women or something like that. And he says, anybody else see this in the paper? This is absolutely true. The courtroom was filled with women trying to meet him and give him love letters and wedding proposals. And Bill Hicks was very sorry to say that the first thought that occurred to him was, and I'm not getting laid.
That says volumes about what's wrong with us.
He said that even Satan himself wouldn't stand a snowball's chance in hell against a woman's ego, It's like, he's Satan. You don't know him like I do. He's the Prince of Darkness. I can change him.
You can't change anyone, ladies. You can't even change yourself.
Yeah. Except if it's into, a nice bra or panties or something. I'm moving right along. we now have to wrap up the show. Thank you very much, Susanne Posel, the USindependent.com. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Of course, visit the homepage, thevinnieeastwoodshow.com, and subscribe today for $5 a month just to support the little broadcast. You can do more or less if you want. But, you know, all the content's free. You know, there's no obligation. You get all the information you want without any obligation to give back anything. Okay? That's the way it really should be. You got to make sure that you help people. And just ask for some help back when you need it. And at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, I really do need it. I do need your help. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you again sometime.